What does a chassid do who davens for 4 hours wrapped in his tallis on Shabbos afternoon? What is he doing? Basically what he's doing is he's trying to remove all things that separate him from his neshama, from his godly soul, so that he can taste what it feels like to be holy, to be godly, not holy, godly. So basically, our relationship with God is an intimacy, which is why he doesn't let us see him. Wouldn't it make things so much easier if we could just see God? Just see him. It's not like you have to have any special talents to see God. You don't. God is very real, more real than his creation. So if we can see his creation, we should certainly be able to see him. So why don't we see him? Because he prevents us from seeing him. Hester panim. He hides himself, because otherwise we would see him. So the question, of course, is, if we could see him naturally, why in the world would you do that? Why would he hide? Just to make it difficult? The only good answer is, and this is what half of Chassidus is about, the answer is, God doesn't want to be seen. God wants to be known. God doesn't want a thing to happen between us. He wants a relationship that is intimate. Vayemahu yihyeh Hashem echad u'shmoi echad. How do you become one? Not by seeing. If you see something that gives you pleasure, that keeps you separate. Because you're the observer. What you're looking at is the observed. This is not intimacy. So modesty means I don't want to be seen because that will keep us separate. I want to be intimate. It can't really work very well if the only time that you put aside your things is when you're trying to be intimate. It's like if you don't practice this, if you don't do this any other place in your life, you can't suddenly become good at it when it comes to intimacy. Generally, Hasidische thinking or Hasidische philosophy is notice those truths that are not things. Like, for example, emunah. Emunah is not a thing. It's a non-thing. You practice that, you become better, you become good at the non-things in the world. You can call it spiritual, but it's a silly word. Spiritual is a thing. It's a thing of the spirit. Spiritual people can be very, very selfish. But what they're selfish about is spiritual things. The objective is we have to become more than things. Why? Because a human being or life itself is not a thing. So materialism means you've lost sight of the non-things and you've become hung up on things. Edelkeit means you get pleasure from, it's even hard to say it, from things that are not things. You get pleasure from intangibles, from invisibles, from from truth that can't be reduced to a thing. Like, for example, a human being. A human being is not a thing. In a materialistic society, what can one person get from another? Something. But what about just the two of them? Well, they don't know what that means. Yeah, two of them what? Well, just the two of them. Yeah, but what? That's why when a wife says to her husband, I don't think I really have you. I don't think you're there for me. He says, why? What do you want? She says, I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I need you. He says, for what? Says, all right, you don't get it. Never mind. Skip it. In the same way, what do we mean? In Chassidus, you say it 1,000,000 times. Af al pi shechota Yisroel. It doesn't matter whether you did a lot of mitzvahs, no mitzvahs, a lot of sins, little sins, big sins. It doesn't matter. A Jew is a Jew. And you say this to somebody who never learned Chassidus, and they say, really? How come? What did he do to be a Jew? Nothing. Nothing? Well, then he's not Jewish. They haven't developed a taste for non-things. And the non-things are much truer. They're much more real. And therefore much closer to God than things. So, what makes a Jew Jewish? Nothing. What makes God God? Nothing. What makes two into one? Nothing. So if you get past things, you are better capable of intimacy, you're better capable of emunah, you're better capable of seeing reality that you can't measure on a scale. And that's where reality really lies. That's really what's real.